Previously on the Romance in Stargirl. Previously on the Romance in Stargirl. Previously on the Romance in Stargirl. Welcome to Couple Reviews, where there's so much to be sad about. First of all, what's wrong with my voice? I'm supposed to not be sick anymore. First of all, I found out recently that Stargirl will not be coming back for a 4th season. We just have 4 more episodes to go and then no more Stargirl. And there's much more bad news within the actual episode because I've actually seen this episode before, and there's 2 things that are somewhat disappointing, at least for me personally. You might not know who she is since I've been cutting her out of the footage. She's the Croc's daughter, and she was the girl with the mask that busted through the window in the last episode. She hasn't been present in the stuff I've been talking about, so you might not have seen her in any of the Romance and Stargirl videos.
Suddenly cracks into info that points the rest of you at the McKent house like a gun. I bet you my red boots and one of Pat's puffer vests that the signal that Beth found was a fabrication.
If only they had talked to an adult before they went to tear up the old folks' home.
This is not the way of our family.
No, the way of our family is for Lily to be lying there dying instead.
He might have died if Beth Chapel hadn't called 911.
They were the ones who did this to him.
It's super disappointing that we didn't get to see what happened right after the fight at the McKent house.
Go find the Whitmore girl. You know what must be done next.
I know.
Does he, though? I mean, he says he knows, but I think... Well, he kind of knows what must be done next better than Lily. Lily's way off in terms of what must be done next. I'm just gonna gloss over this scene. Basically, his brain is being messed with by the hourglass for the right reasons, and he's refusing to take it off because it's like an addiction for him.
You even hit Courtney.
It was an accident!
It was definitely not an accident, like he's claiming. And even worse than yelling at Beth, he yells at Beth's parents, and yet he's mad at Cameron for yelling at someone. I was going to skip over most of this scene, but there's one thing I have to talk about.
You don't understand what our family has endured over the centuries. Built like witches.
That is a coincidence and a half. I've been talking about burning Lily like a witch on a pyre, and then he brings that up in their family history. Listen. I know that the last episode didn't... Also, that's hilarious. I know that the last episode of The Romance in Stargirl didn't release until after this episode of the show released, so that's not concrete evidence that it was just a coincidence. You might be thinking that I put that in after seeing this episode and just claiming it's coincidence, but Beth's parents' lawyer also does work for M.V.P.Knight, and I submit the evidence that I had already been doing the running joke of burning witches with Cindy before this backstory got brought up, so it's not so much of a stretch that I just applied it to Lily, and then that created the coincidence. So it is just a coincidence, and a hilarious one.
What are you 2 idiots doing here?
Hey, we found her!
She's still alive? When we were in the forest burning her, I told you that she needed to burn for a little bit longer. And you were like, no, I'm the kerosene master. I know how much kerosene it takes to burn a witch. So we just left her charred remains there. I knew she was gonna come back if we didn't burn her for a little bit longer. Did you let her live on purpose? Because you ship her with Mike and Jakeem? Is that what's happening? That was all a joke. Just in case. I hope I didn't hurt your feelings, viewer. Are they starting to grow on her, perhaps?
You're alive.
What are you doing here?
We're looking for you.
Yeah, your concubines were worried about you.
Probably. So it's how I'll clear my name and shove it into the smug faces of your sister's dumbass friends.
Admirable goals?
Do yourselves a favor, go play some video games and leave this to me.
Well, you know, she was able to give them some solid directions. She wanted to rub things in the face of his smug sister, which that's, in the eyes of a little brother, that's something. And she encourages their video game hobbies, so that kind of is girlfriend material behavior.
What?
Now, I've been wanting to say this. Cindy has been saying, "Oh, boo, nobody likes me, and I have no friends, and everybody hates me, and the Justice League, and the Justice Society doesn't trust me, and people think I'm a villain, and boo-hoo, and no one gives me a chance, and no one gives me respect." And then these two give her that respect and that chance and that admiration, and she passes up a perfectly good opportunity to be a double cougar. This scene is one of those big disappointments I was talking about.
I never meant for any of this to happen.
And why'd you do it?
She didn't do it. She was trying to stop it. You saw that.
They thought your grandparents...
My grandparents are not evil.
Tell that to Mr. Dysinger, who is currently in the trash.
I know how much your father meant to you, and I didn't want to change the memory you had of him.
Cameron only ever knew the better side of his father until he died.
He killed people to get what he wanted.
I'm learning that I know he wasn't a good guy all the time,
It's interesting that he doesn't need that
but
much
he was
convincing.
my dad, Courtney.
I thought that it would take him a while to be convinced that his dad was up to bad things before.
Did you have to kill him to stop him?
It's also
Did you have to
interesting
take him
that
away from me?
he's not mad at Courtney
Forever?
for fighting his dad as much as he's just mad at her for killing him. So theoretically, he might have forgiven. Well, not forgive. He might have been okay with her if she just put him in prison. That's kind of interesting.
We never set out to hurt him.
Who did it?
Here it comes.
It was an accident. I swear to you.
If it was an accident, then someone needs to own up to it.
I did it.
Liar!
No!
You're with him! You brought him here to kill me!
No!
Let her go! You turned her against me! I hate you!
Sorry.
I'm just going to ignore the fact that she was doing that to be a good sister and trying to protect her brother from Cameron trying to get revenge on him, because we're supposed to be past this. We're supposed to be past this. Courtney wasn't she just talking about how he deserves to know the truth? And like I said before, there's only 4 more episodes left in the season, and by this season, I mean this whole series. So at this point, we're supposed to be past keeping secrets from the boyfriend at this point. She's been reaping the consequences of not telling him the truth, and then she piles on another lie. And I was getting excited about the truth coming out, only for more lies to happen. You can see how that's frustrating. And to make matters worse,
I don't ever want to see you again.
I mean, if you find out your girlfriend killed your dad accidentally or not, and she kept that a secret while dating you, that's kind of, you can kind of justify breaking up with her for that, but we shouldn't be in this. If she had just told him it was theoretically, he would have just said, "I never want to see your brother again," and then that wouldn't have been so bad, would it? I mean, granted, she wouldn't she didn't know that would have been his reaction. Theoretically, he would have been less mad at Mike than he currently is at Courtney because he feels more betrayal. So theoretically, he wouldn't have tried to kill Mike if he knew the truth. So she was just kind of wrong to tell him that it was her. Even if she thought that he would probably try to kill whoever it was that killed his dad, the proper thing would have been to... If I was in that position, I would have just said, promise me you won't hurt the person who killed your dad and I'll tell you. And then he would have either had to make that promise, or he would have said, well, I can't promise that, so it's just fair enough that you not tell me. So the correct move was her to just say, promise me you won't kill the person who did it.
You want us to forgive the people who murdered our son?
Never!
Murdered? I mean, even if you don't think that your son was in the wrong, is it murder when you kill someone on the opposite side of a war? I think not. It was a good idea to have the Crocs be the one to talk to the McKents and get them to give up the grudge, especially with what happens later on. Hang on.
Jordan wanted to build a new America because he believed he could create a brighter, safer future for our children. That's why we got on board with his plan.
Yeah, they've always been so caring for their daughter.
It will only bring more destruction to our families and our community.
And that's not what Jordan wanted in the end.
I mean, it's great and all that they're burying the hatchet, but I still need Lily to burn for what she did to Mr. Dysinger.
I'm okay.
You're not okay. You just got dumped by Cameron. Okay, maybe the reason she's okay is because she hasn't given up on him yet, as is evidenced by what happens in a minute. Long, crazy story short, the Ultra-Humanite is the white ape that has the brain of a scientist, and he's the guy that killed the gambler. But the Ultra-Humanite is not the guy in the chair looking at the monitors. We'll get to that in a second.
Pat, that's what I was talking about when I said we had to come together. The Crocs, Cindy, and now the McKents.
I know you want to help Cameron, but
This isn't just about helping Cameron, Yolanda.
It's about dating him.
Hey!
Dad, Mom, I got in!
Oh, they've been doing great, haven't they? They talked the McKent grandparents into giving up the grudge, and they got their daughter off to college. Grown friendships with Barbara and Pat had such impacts on their lives. We'll talk about this in a second. Lawrence and Polly Croc just did everything that they needed to do before they went. Now let's talk about the fact that it's Jordan who's the guy in the chair. That's the other bit of disappointingness from this episode. Apparently I was wrong about it being the original Hour Man after all. Well, how was I supposed to know that Jordan survived being shattered into a million pieces? What? So much sadness. We got the show's cancellation. We got late videos. We got the death of the Crocs. Inaccurate predictions. Courtney and Cameron breaking up unnecessarily. As much as I would have liked to have called it on it being Our Man. By the way, I still contend that was a good guess, all things considered, with all those points I brought up. It was kind of a good idea for it to be Jordan, because this way they don't really need to set up the villains be such a credible threat at the last minute, because the season has more been about the drama between the frenemies, as they're dumbly called. So to have it be Jordan, they've already set him up to be a credible threat, since he's the villain from the first season. Which, that's kind of a double-edged sword, because they now have to convince me that he's a bigger threat than Eclipso from season 2. I mean, they kind of have that set up with the Ultra-Humanites being added in for extra muscle, but still. So remember to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, and forgive me for not guessing the guy in the chair's identity correctly.